Good evening and welcome everyone for the session Kickstarting Your Career in FP&A Function. So for the next 90 minutes, we would request your undivided attention, and we're going to cover a lot of ground here and got some interesting things coming, and we have made some great effort to put together a compact and useful session for you guys for the next 90 minutes. First of all, thank you for your trust in this time of overloading of webinars and online courses. You have taken out your valuable 90 minutes to spend time with us and learn something new. So thank you for your trust. Pat yourselves on the back for taking action. You see, less than a statistic says that less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers, and no wonder 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations or are usually in the top players when it comes to your career. So you have taken this action, so pat yourselves on the back for that, and make sure that you stay through till the very end so that you can maximize all the learning from this particular session. So here's a quick roadmap of today's session as to what we are going to cover. We'll start by understanding what is FP&A, where does it fit in, how does organizations deal with FP&A, then what are some of the key traits required for a successful FP&A professional. There could be hundreds of different skills, but we'll cover some of those core skills here. How does a typical FP&A month look like? What is it like to work in FP&A function? How does my week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 look like? So we'll cover all of that in the typical month. And then I'll share with you some quick frameworks and guidance on how you can build your career in FP&A and where you start your FP&A journey. So this is what we'll be covering today. A little bit about us before we begin. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've also got 1 year, I completed my 1 year general management program from IIM Ahmedabad. Overall 12 plus years of industry experience across diverse sectors like oil and gas, software, advertising and PR. I consider myself a sincere student of personal development. I always keep investing in learning through programs, through coaching. Over the last 5 years, I may have done hundreds of different courses and coaching programs and training programs. I started something called as #Saturday Mentoring on LinkedIn, where I started reserving my time on Saturdays to help chartered accountants and other finance professionals figure out their career and deal with some career issues. Over the last 3 years, I've also been an online instructor, an active instructor, and I've trained more than 5,000 professionals in various areas like FP&A, finance, leadership, and multiple courses and guidance programs to help them elevate their career as well. Cool. Asif?
Thank you so much, Dhaval. So I am a chartered accountant as well. I have about 12 years of experience in finance, specifically 8 years of experience in FP&A. I have worked across various sectors, including banking, pharma, and edtech. I have worked with organizations like EY, Citibank, and Pfizer. Presently, I am leading the FP&A function for India and APAC at a edtech firm called Coursera. I am a contributor to FP&A Trends, which is the go-to resource for many FP&A professionals. I have also recently published a book a few months back, which is all about FP&A, which is specifically for helping freshers and beginners in FP&A. So that's a little background about myself.
Fantastic. Thank you, Asif. So between Asif and we have about 2.5 decades of experience in FP&A and business finance. That is what makes this collaboration work so seamlessly. And I hope you guys will be benefited with today's session as well. Cool. So moving forward, where does FP&A role fit in? All of us may have this question as to what is FP&A? Where does it fit into the organization, or how important is it? So let me, for ease of discussion, whatever finance and accounting profiles you find there in large companies or conglomerates or bigger companies, they can be grouped into 3 broad buckets. Okay, one is financial reporting and compliance. The other one is business finance or finance business partner or FP&A, or what we also call as management accounting. And then there are some specialty finance functions which normally don't fit into the either compliance or the business finance bucket. Now, financial reporting roles are largely, focused on accounting, compliance, reporting, taxes, and the key activities are, preparation of financial statements, notes to accounts, handling different types of audits like internal audit, statutory audit, SOX audit, different statutory compliances, direct and indirect taxation, consolidation of financial statements, different regulatory reporting depending on the industry that you are operating in. There may be some different regulatory reports that you may be routinely required to publish. All of those things are in the financial reporting and compliance bucket. Now, most of us have a fair bit of understanding of this particular bucket because even when we are doing our chartered accountancy or any of these courses that you may start your career with, largely they are focused on preparation of financial statements, what happens after preparation of financial statements. All of those things are focused in this bucket, and we have a fair understanding of what happens in this. We can read balance sheets, we can read annual reports, we have a fair understanding. Then comes the second bucket that is largely focused on management reporting or commercial side of things or supporting the business. And the key activities that you will see in this bucket are budgeting, forecasting, different types of analysis like revenue, cost, margin, different types of profitability analysis like customer level, branch level, product level, territory level, SKU level, service level, depending on how the company is structured. Preparing management commentaries every month after the books close. The management expects to understand the results or the finer points of the results of how, excuse me, how a certain profit or revenue has come from. So that is where management commentaries come into play. Working capital management, like you need to manage your receivables, your payables, your bank credit line, all of those things, your supply chain finance. Then CapEx, evaluating CapEx proposals, undertaking feasibility studies, making certain investments, whether it is a short-term CapEx investment or a long CapEx investment. Different types of pricing. Again, depending on the complexity of the organization, there could be a separate pricing department which will be taking care of publishing prices of products at regular intervals, as and when the raw materials and the labor prices undergo a change. Then there could be recharges. Recharges is where a central authority or a central company or a business unit negotiates certain contracts with certain vendors. Like take for example, if there is a business group which has 15 different companies. Now, one company which is a stronger or a larger, I would say big brother in this company, they would actually negotiate, let's say, an insurance deal for all the employees, a group medical insurance deal for all the employees at a significantly cheaper rate. And then they pay the premium, and this premium now needs to be spread across all different companies. So that is where recharging this costs comes into picture. So that is what is also handled by this bucket. So when we start our careers, there's a likelihood that we all start with the compliance bucket, and slowly as we grow higher up the ladder, we may undertake more activities related to management reporting and supporting the business on an ongoing basis. Okay, if you take a typical CFO's role for that matter, a CFO might be spending probably 70 to 80% of his time on the performance aspects, that is his bucket 2, and only about 10-20% of his time on the compliance aspect of things, right? So that is how your role may undergo a change. When you are looking at a long 15-20-year-old career, it is important that you have a good mix of both compliance and commercial aspects of things as well. Now, what is specialty finance function? These are some of the expert tasks which normally don't fit into bucket 1 and bucket 2. Like some of the examples are treasury and banking. If you're a very large complex organization, then you may have a separate treasury department. Forex management, that is hedging of foreign contracts and all foreign currency contracts. Mergers and acquisitions could be a separate department. Fundraising, managing surplus funds, that is investment management. Structured finance, that is to understand at the group level what would be the best investment of our funds and what would be the tax impact if companies are registered in different countries and geographies, what would be the overall tax impact. A strategy, different types of strategy. How do you support in strategy, coming up with a marketing strategy or a CapEx strategy, whatever it may be your company might be undertaking. And then similarly, supply chain finance, you look at the entire supply chain, your producers, your suppliers, and then your distributors, your customers, and see how you can make their lives better, how you can provide attractive finance to them so that they can be incentivized to sell more and more of your products. Okay, project finance, again, think about an architecture firm or a large construction company. They always work in projects, and every project requires a certain financial management to be in place, so to understand whether the project is running profitably or not, right? Technology roles, there could also be functional consultant roles where you, as a functional consultant, you are actually acting as a bridge between the coder and the business. You understand the business requirements, translate it into the way the coder understands it, and then you help the coder to develop that particular report or a system change as well, or an improvement as well. That is what technology profiles are there. You could be using a BI tool, say like a Power BI or a Tableau or something like that. You might be an expert in technology as well. If you're somebody who likes technology, then maybe technology profiles are for you. ERP implementation is also one of the areas in technology as well. So no matter how many different accounting profiles, accounting and finance profiles are out there, you can bucket them into these three categories and see where your interest is, or see where you are currently and how do you want to move towards the next bucket or next area that you want to work on in your careers. Now, continuing with where does FP&A fit in? If you look at, what is FP&A? So if you look at what is FP&A, you need to first understand the focus area of what a CFO or a management would be looking at. So if you look at the typical CFO function, there'll be multiple departments or functions that will be reporting to a CFO, right? Financial reporting is responsible for preparation of financial statements, notes to accounts, getting the statutory audit done, all of those things. ERP would be required to implement or customize certain reports and all of that stuff. Taxes would be there to take care of the direct and indirect tax compliances, file your returns on time, give certain opinions to complex transactions and all of that. Similarly, you have mergers and acquisitions to fuel your inorganic growth strategies, where you need to target certain companies and acquire them and understand their financial position. Treasury to manage different levels of banking relationships and working capital management. Supply chain finance again. So there could be a number of different departments that are rolling up into a CFO's office. Now, each of these, if you see, have their own specific function, right? Taxes takes care of taxes, right? Mergers and acquisitions has a clear agenda to find target companies which can be acquired or which can be sold also if you want to sell a certain business unit, right? So all of these have a different function. But amidst all these activities, amidst all this chaos that is going on in the company, who is that one person who is going to tell to the CFO or to the senior management as to how is the business performing? Are we running our business profitably? Are we selling our products profitably? How much margin are we making? How much is our fixed cost? How much is our direct cost? How much is our indirect cost? All these points about the performance of the business, somebody needs to tell to the CFO and to the senior management. That is where FP&A comes into picture. FP&A, the main job of FP&A is to come up with reports and insights that facilitate decision making for the CFO and the senior management, that facilitate decision making for CFO and the senior management. That is where FP&A comes in, right? A CFO relies on the management accountant or the FP&A team to give him certain reports and insights on time so that they can then take decisions. They can then do some course corrections if we are not meeting our targets or if we are not going in the direction where we set out to go, right? That is where FP&A comes into play. Now, if I have to understand this terminology, FP&A, I would like to break it into two parts for ease of understanding. One is financial planning and the other one is financial analysis. Now, when it comes to financial planning, this part of FP&A is always future looking. This is all about creating business plans for the next financial year, creating budgets, OPEX and CAPEX budgets, understanding rolling forecast. Now, a budget is where you have an estimate for the entire financial year, and a forecast is something where you have some part of actuals plus balance as estimates. Like your January to March could be actuals and your April to December could be your estimates. That is what a forecast would mean. We'll cover a little bit more about it as we go along. But this part of FP&A role is largely future looking. And then you have the financial analysis part, which is about ongoing performance of the business. Somebody needs to tell the management as to how is the month being, or how is the quarter close happening. Okay, are we on track? So here we compare our actuals versus budget, or actuals versus forecast, current year versus previous year, current quarter versus previous quarter, current month versus previous month. So we'll do all these kind of different analysis, come up with certain commentaries and give a detailed report to the management about the ongoing performance of the business so that they can take informed decisions. They can do some course corrections as they go along in the financial year. So that is what the financial analysis part is about. Okay, you can look at umpteen number of job descriptions out there, but largely you will find these areas in a financial planning and analysis role. Okay, Asif.
Yeah. So we looked at what different activities FP&A team does. But if I had to explain FP&A in one line or one sentence, I usually do this by saying FP&A acts as a bridge between the business teams and the senior management. So on the left hand side of this picture, you see there are different business teams like sales team, marketing team, product teams, engineering team, HR, functional teams like supply chain. So what the role of FP&A is to collect inputs from the business or the functional teams on the left and then help them analyze those, help the senior management with analysis and reports that can help them make decisions. So the senior management will not have time to spend with each of the different departments or the business teams. They will rely on the FP&A lead. They will rely on you as an FP&A manager or an analyst to provide them with inputs which are highly processed, and also they will not expect you to just share the data what you collect from the business teams. They will expect you to analyze that data, bring out some insights out of that data, and then they will expect some guidance in terms of what decision they should make in terms of the business. So that is basically the role of FP&A in one sentence. They act as a bridge between the business and the functional teams and the senior management.
Cool. So what are the main activities in FP&A? Now, to put it very in a simple way, FP&A will have these four broad activities. Okay, one is budgeting, forecasting, and then under the management commentaries or reporting umbrella, you can have variance analysis and profitability analysis. Okay, but let's quickly touch upon each of them a little bit. Okay, one is budgeting. Now, what is budgeting? To simply put it this way, budgeting is a term which is interchangeably used for the annual business plan. Okay? A company may have a certain vision that I want to double my turnover in 3 years, or I want to reach a certain X level profitability in the next 5 years, or whatever the vision of the management is. That vision needs to be translated into an annual action plan, an annual operating action plan. That is where the budgeting exercise comes in, which is largely at the start of the financial year or even slightly before the financial year. Like for 2023, usually companies started budgeting exercise by October 2022. Okay, you start the budgeting exercise, you start the annual operating planning exercise where you collect different inputs from revenue, different levels of costs, different levels of overheads, and then finally you arrive at an estimated P&L of how your 2023 is going to look like. Okay, that is what is called budgeting. That is where you are preparing estimated financial statements for the next one financial year. Okay, and the term budgeting is interchangeably used with annual business plan or annual operating plan. Largely when they say budgets, you need to relate to and understand that they're talking about the plan that they have for the next financial year. Similarly, forecasting. Now, forecasting is something where you are tracking the ongoing performance of the business. Like for example, in Q1, that is, let's say January to March is, let's say Q1, and we are following a calendar financial year. January to March happens to be Q1, and after the Q1 actuals close, which means by end of March, you already have actual numbers for January to March. You know what your actual sales are, you know what your actual costs and profits are. Okay, and then you need to prepare your estimated sales for April to December, which means you will check the assumptions, what you had at the start of the year versus what you have at the end of March, and then realign your numbers, realign your estimates, okay, for the balance period, that is April to December, and then come up with a forecasted sales or a forecasted profit number for the full financial year. That is your Jan to March actuals plus April to December 9-month of forecast. That is what is a forecasting exercise. So usually some companies follow monthly forecasting, some companies follow quarterly forecasting. It really depends on the kind of company and the structure that you are operating in. Then comes management commentaries. Okay, At the end of every month, like I mentioned to you, that you need to come up with certain reports and insights to explain the performance of the business to the management. Okay, this is where management commentaries come into play. In management commentaries, you have variance analysis. Like I already explained, you will do a lot of variance analysis between actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current year versus previous year, current quarter versus previous quarter. You will check all of those things, understand the reason for these variances, and then capture them in your management commentaries. Similarly, the management would also be interested to understand where is the profit coming from, or where is the revenue coming from. That is when they like to dissect things and understand. Like if a company is making $100 million of profit, is majority of the profit coming from product A or product B? Is majority of the profits coming from geography A or geography B? You know, this is where profitability analysis comes into play, where the companies would like to, drag and drop or slice and dice certain elements and get into the details of how this profit has come, and then present that in a report as part of management commentaries to the management so that they can take certain informed decisions. Let's say southern region of India is responding well to a certain product, and our management commentaries say that southern region is performing better. Then does that mean that we need to stop focusing on southern region, or should we spend more focus on southern region so that we can maximize our profits? So these kind of decisions are taken basis the management commentaries, which typically consist of variance analysis and profitability analysis. Asif?
Next, we will look at some of the key traits or key skills that are required to be successful as an FP&A professional. So there are 10 different skills that I share in my book, but now we will look at the top 5 skills that we think are important for FP&A. The number one skill is business acumen. So this is understanding the business in and out. Without understanding the business, it will be very difficult for you to communicate with senior management and senior leadership. Now, what is business acumen? So this involves business literacy. So you should be knowing a lot about your business in terms of what your products are, what your services are, how does the company make money, what are the different segments of your organization, how does different functions work together. So you should be knowing your business in and out. Analytical skills. So we start with data. So a lot of folks will start their any process that they do with data from the ERP system or data warehouse. Then they will be expected to perform certain processing or massaging to convert that data into information. Information will be a chart or a table. But what is expected out of FP&A folks is not just information, but actual insights in terms of what the company should do as a result of this analysis or of this data or this information that you're sharing. So we cover both business acumen and analytical skills in detail using tools and frameworks, examples, case studies in our masterclass, which we will talk about in few minutes. Another important skill is soft skills, which is working with different teams, which we call as cross-functional, building relationships with your business partners, cross-functional folks that you will, colleagues that you will be working with. So if you looked at the FP&A functions in the earlier slides, it involves budgeting, forecasting, reporting. All of this cannot be done alone by finance team. They will need the support, inputs, explanations, reasoning, variance, commentary from different cross-functional teams. So working well with other teams is another important skill. How do you build that relationship with your business partners so that they are comfortable sharing all the details which they know of, so that it helps you summarize and then convey the right message to your senior leadership. So cross-functional relationships is another important skill. And finally, IT and data literacy. So IT data literacy is becoming very important with increased use of technology and also the availability of data. So if you see, there is tons of data available these days which the companies can use. A lot of data is not structured, it's in various different forms, which requires preparation. So being able to deal with large amount of data and the different tools and technologies that are coming up is another skill that is important for FP&A. Next, let's look at the typical month for a FP&A professional or a FP&A analyst, if I can call. So usually, let's take an example of, say, this is February right now. So in February, we will be closing the books for January, and all of this that I'm talking about, let's assume that we are talking about the January month. So what will happen in week 1 of February is we will start with revenue and flash reports. What are revenue, expenses, flash reports? So these are reports that are sent to senior management, which will be sharing estimates of how the end of the month will look like until the books are closed. So you will have an accurate picture when the books are closed, maybe on business day 5 or maybe business day 7, depending on when you will close your books of accounts. But the senior management will not be waiting till business day 5. They will want to know how their month has performed on the immediate, even last day of the month, or in the first week of the next month before the books are closed. So you will share some estimates which will be based on maybe 26 days of actuals of January, and maybe you'll do an estimate for the last 5 days which you do not have data. So these are flash reports. Then you will, in smaller companies, you will actually be might be working in on the month end close yourself. But if you're working in a mid-size or a big organization, there will be accounting teams who will be working in month end close and accounting reviews. So your responsibility will be only to help them whatever inputs they need. So a lot of inputs, accounting team will depend on you because you are more closer to the business and the functional teams. So they will require your help in a lot of activities like accruals, like booking certain entries, because you will be closely tracking the budget and the actuals. They will ask you, okay, based on your tracking, how much should we book, how much should we accrue, how much should this amount, how much should this entry will will look like. So they will ask you a lot of questions, and you will have to work with them so that they can close the books efficiently. Once the books are closed, you will then review the P&L and the various schedules that are closed, that are a part of the accounting close review. Once the accounting close review is done, then you can start your month end reporting and your quarterly. In case of quarter end, you can start your month end and quarter end reports. These are reports which are sent to senior management, which gives a holistic picture of how the previous month or the quarter went in terms of versus actual versus budget, actual versus the most recent forecast. Then we move to week 2. So week 1 was all of reporting and closing the books, helping accounting close the books. Now week 2, we will focus on forecast. So what typically happens is forecast is not a one-time activity. It is usually a cycle. When by a cycle, you mean you must have done a forecast in the last month. Now you will revisit that forecast and make certain changes to that forecast based on the information you have collected in the previous month, or the new inputs that you have received, or anything, any assumptions that have changed in the past 1 month. So you will update that forecast, and that will be the preliminary forecast. That forecast will be reviewed by you and your business partner. Once the business partner is okay, then you will review that forecast with your business unit head or the CFO. And in each stages of review, there might be some inputs that you will get from the business partner or the CFO or the BU head that you can incorporate and make your forecast even more better. Once the reviews are done, the forecast is typically uploaded in a system. In many cases, it's done in Excel files, so it needs to be uploaded in the budgeting tool. If it's directly done in the budgeting tool, then it is not required. Once the forecast is uploaded, that is the point where the forecast is locked, and now any changes you will make at after that point in time will be considered in the next forecast. So this will be your point of comparison for the actuals for the next month or the next quarter. And then you will continue meeting with the business teams for supporting the business. They might have some ad hoc queries, questions. They might need some data information for uh, running the business. So you will have to provide that information, inputs, whatever they need. Week 3 will be slightly lighter in terms of you've already done the reporting and the forecast. So majority of the functions, like they get taken care in week 1 and week 2. Week 3, you will focus more on other activities like recharges and allocation. Dhaval mentioned what recharges and allocation are, and we will look at examples of each of these activities in detail in the FP&A masterclass. We also look at some special projects. So a lot of FP&A folks are involved in special projects supporting the business. So these are projects where different cross-functional folks come together to solve a business problem, or there is a specific objective that a senior management might need. So they might be contributing to these special projects during the week 3 because they have some bandwidth, more bandwidth compared to week 1 and week 2. A lot of folks also work on automation in terms of making sure that their processes are efficient. If they're spending a lot of manual time on some process, they will make sure, okay, how can we automate? How can we make this faster next month? If you are closing the books on, say, business day 10, you will think about how can I close the books? How can we close the books on business day 7, business day 8? If you're doing the forecast in week 3, you will think about how can we do it faster, and we do it and close it in week 2 and then spend more time on these special projects. And you will continue meeting your business partners. This week you will have more time, so you will have more meetings with your business partners to understand what changes you have to make in the forecast in the next month. Has anything changed? Are there any significant risks or opportunities that have happened in the last 1 week since you have submitted the forecast? And if there is any significant risk or opportunities, you will then have to highlight that to your senior management. Then we come to week 4. So this is the end of the month. Again, your revenue flash estimates will start in week 4. So business will the senior management will expect estimates of how the month will look like in terms of, now we are talking about the February month. So how will the February month look like in terms of the close? So you will start doing these flash reports at the end of the 4th week, and this will continue in week 1 of the next month. Again, a lot of activities are related to accounting. So if you are working for a small or a mid-sized company, you will be actively involved in the accounting process as well. But if you are working in a big organization, it will be accounting team or the controller team who will be doing this, and you will be just supporting them in terms of providing inputs and guidance.
Cool, fantastic. So in the next section, I would like to cover a small framework which I call the FP&A success mantra, which is that if you are joining an FP&A role today, then what needs to be done? How can you take quick control of your FP&A role? That is what this FP&A success mantra is. So there are 3 steps that you need to look into. One is the understand the organizing structure, where you fit into the organization structure and how the company is structured. And then there are some stakeholders that you need to look at. Who's the stakeholder, who's the business head, or who do you send reports to normally? All those things you will need to look into. And then there are industry KPIs, that every industry has a certain unique reporting or a metric that it tracks. Like the KPIs for a software industry would be very different from a KPI for a manufacturing company. Yeah, so you will need to understand what are the typical KPIs for your particular industry, and then the sooner you can get a grip on all these 3 things, the sooner you will be able to control or get control over your FP&A role as well. So let's look at these things one by one. Org structure.
Yes, so depending on which type of company you're working with, a big company or a mid-size or a small company, there are different types of FP&A roles. So in this slide, we will try to understand what are the different types of FP&A roles. So how this will help you is when you come across a job description, you should be looking at the job description and be easily able to categorize, okay, this is a specific revenue expense related FP&A role, or this is a center of excellence related FP&A role, or this is a mid-sized company and they are wanting me to look at the full P&L end to end. So objective is to help you understand based on the job description how your role will look like if you are getting into an FP&A role. So let's start with the big companies. So the first three buckets are big companies. So the green one is you are working in a very big company and you are looking at a particular revenue or expense line item. So in case of a company, maybe you are looking at just revenue for one particular product, or maybe you're looking at revenue for just one particular department, or maybe you are looking at expenses for the entire company, but it's only the one expense line. Maybe you're just looking at the salary cost. Maybe you're just looking at the travel and entertainment expenses. Another role can be that you are looking at one particular department. So in this case, you're looking at one particular department or a geography, but not a very specific revenue or expense line. You're looking at the entire P&L for that particular department or geography. So this is very similar to a mid-sized company, but in this case, you are working in a big company and looking at a P&L for one particular department, one particular geography. And then there are consolidation roles. So because there are different teams in bigger companies, there is a need for a consolidation role. So typically what we see in bigger companies is you have country level teams, then you have regional level teams, and then you have consolidation teams. So the regional level teams usually interact with the country teams and they do the reviews with them. And then the regional teams report to the consolidation team, which is the corporate FP&A team, and they consolidate all the different 4 or 5 regions and the 20 different countries to put together a complete picture for the CEO or the CFO. So next is on the red bucket, which is Center of Excellence. So these are again big organizations, big companies, but what they have done is they've centralized their finance function in one particular location or maybe 2-3 different locations. The objective of doing this is one, that they want to make it more efficient by centralizing the entire finance function or the FP&A function in one particular location, and also they want to make sure that they are saving on cost in terms of the high cost location. So if there are many high cost locations in the company, they may want to make sure that their headcount is balanced between the high cost and the low cost location. So just as an example, if there is a company, say, which is present in 20 different countries, and they need, say, 3 FP&A people in each of the countries. So what they will typically do is they will not hire 3 people in different countries. They will hire just one person in different country, which is the front facing or the what we call the on-site role. And the other 2 people will be hired in a low-cost location. For example, it can be India, it can be Costa Rica, it can be Philippines. These are some common places where companies set up their center of excellences. So this was another type of role, which is also FP&A. Now the third type of role is project FP&A roles. These are typically, again, bigger companies. An example can be IT company. So in an IT company, you might be working on a specific project, or maybe you might be working for 2 different clients or 3 different clients, uh, which are dealing with one particular project, or maybe you're just focusing on one particular client and looking at all the projects for that particular client. And finally, there are mid-sized companies. So these are typically uh, comparatively smaller companies, and you get to do the entire P&L. You get to work on the entire P&L, all the revenue expenses.
Moving to the next step in the FP&A success mantra is stakeholders. Now, as part of finance function, you will never work in isolation. You will always be interacting with various cross-functional teams like HR, sales, business development, production, operations, legal, taxes. There could be a number of different departments that you will be interacting with, and you will constantly be collecting some inputs and updates from these departments and providing various reports and insights to different departments and department heads and all of that. Okay, so you need to understand and map out who are your important stakeholders in your role, and then what kind of analysis do they need, what kind of insights do they need, and then work backwards towards building your reports and giving them to your stakeholders so that they can take some informed decisions as well. And the third part in the FP&A success mantra is KPIs, right? Now, KPIs vary from company to company. Every company may be tracking a different key performance indicator, and depending on how big or what is the nature of the industry, there could be multiple KPIs. Now, let me do a quick exercise here, and I would want your participation in the chat box. What do you think would be the KPIs of an oil and gas industry? Just put some comments in the chat box. What do you think oil and gas industry financial reports would be tracking within the company for the management to understand things? Just take a wild guess. You don't need to be 100% accurate about it. Asif, you may have to read out the comments for me.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I'm getting the comments. Yeah.
Number of liters sold, Seva-Ising number of liters sold, revenue per barrel.
Revenue per barrel, okay, fantastic.
Someone is saying AOB.
Fantastic, fantastic. Great. Now, what would be the KPIs in a software company? So, any guesses? Software company?
Seva-Ising hours worked, Ramesh is saying ARR, MRR, average recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue, bookings, projects handled.
Right.
Revenue per hour.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, now focus back again on the screen here. So here are some of the metrics. Again, there could be a number of metrics that the company is tracking, but oil and gas company typically tracks something called as a gross refining margin. That is your, selling price minus the cost of crude oil, to be put it very simply. Then there could be gross margins. Okay, then there could be net margin. That is gross margin minus certain discounts is your net margin. So these are some of the metrics that an oil and gas company could be tracking. And these will be included in the management reports when they are being sent to the senior management. A software company could be tracking something called as a compensation ratio, or you can also call it payroll ratio, because staff cost is such a huge cost. Usually, typically 40 to 60% of the cost in the P&L is actually compensation. That is the sales. So that's the salaries that you are paying to the staff. So that's why they must be tracking this, separately. Revenue per headcount. If you compare revenue per headcount of a company like a IBM versus a revenue per headcount of a company like a Wipro or a Microsoft, you will come to know how they are faring and how they are different. Compensation to headcount ratio. What is the average compensation per headcount? Are we hiring highly paid employees? Are we hiring highly low paid employees? So these kind of metrics, when you compare it with your competitors, it will give you a lot of insights as to what kind of a business you are running in, right? It will help you understand the health of the business and then plan your next steps on that as well. So no matter what industry you go into, okay, every industry will have its own KPIs, its own indicators that they'll be tracking. So you will need to first understand what are the KPIs for your industry and thoroughly understand them and start learning the language used by that particular industry. Okay, and is it easy to move from one industry to other? Maybe not at senior levels, but at junior levels you can definitely move from one industry to the other. The fundamentals of FP&A will remain the same. There could be gross margin in oil and gas company also. There could be gross margin in software company also. And the fundamental skill of FP&A is transferable, but only the way it is being computed will depend on the KPI that is being tracked and how it has been computed. Okay, so just trust yourself a little bit more when you want to transition from one industry to the other. However, if you are having a certain specific industry experience, then maybe it would be easier for you to target that industry or target the next level role in that industry with a competitor. That may help you increase your chances of landing that job as well. Okay, so this is the FP&A success mantra. That is org structure. Where do you fit into the organization structure? How big, small, medium, large, shared and center of excellence, where it is. Stakeholders, who are your people who you will be interacting with, and then the KPIs. What are the metrics? What are the indicators that your company is tracking for that particular industry? Cool. Now, how do you build your FP&A career? Where do you start? And how do you progress in your FP&A career? So I'm going to share with you a quick framework here to build your FP&A career. Now imagine building your FP&A career like building a house. Okay. And any house, if it needs to be strong, we all know that it needs a strong foundation. Now that is where your conceptual understanding comes into play. Your conceptual understanding about terminologies like revenue, direct cost, indirect cost, fixed cost, variable cost, gross margins, net margins, fixed cost, variable cost, your unit economics. There are so many things that you will need to understand from a commercial sense. This has got nothing to do with your accounting standards, your IFRS, your taxes, or anything like that. Pure commercial understanding. That is where your conceptual understanding will come into play. Largely commonsensical. You will need to understand the terminologies, understand how the company is making money, and that is where your conceptual understanding comes into play. And on top of your conceptual understanding, the foundation of your conceptual understanding, you will need three pillars. One is your soft skills, because it involves, it's not a role of isolation. It's not where you come and sit your head down and punch your entries and go home. Okay, it is going to be interactive, and you will constantly interact with multiple stakeholders. That is where your communication skills and your soft skills come into play, of how you can build stronger relationship with other cross-functional teams. The second pillar is your experience. As you get more experience in a particular industry, then you may end up being tied up to that industry. Okay, so last 7-8 years I have been working with service industry. Now it is very difficult for me to go back to manufacturing. Not that I cannot, but I wouldn't be willing to go back to manufacturing, because now I enjoy working more in a service company. Okay, now you could be working in a tech company, you could be working in a manufacturing company. So try to always leverage your experience and keep building on top of it, top of what you have got. So that is the second pillar of building your career. The third pillar is the tools. Every now and then some fancy tool will come into the market. Like today we have Power BI, today we have Tableau, tomorrow there'll be some other tool that will be coming into the market. Be observant about this fact and see what tool is being used by your company, and then try and work on it outside of your job as well, to gain expertise on that particular tool. That will make your life very easy in your FP&A role. Okay. It could be ERP tool, it could be a business intelligence tool, it could be some other visualization tool like a Tableau or Power BI. It could be a number of different kind of tools. So see, do you need knowledge of tools beforehand to apply for an FP&A role? It's a good to have, but it's not a necessity. But once you get into an FP&A role, and if you notice that some particular tool is being extensively used in that company, then make sure that you invest time in learning that tool and gain certain level of expertise in that tool, so that will make your life very easy. On top of these three pillars, then comes the roof. I would say that what completes your house is that you actually keep improving every now and then. How do you keep improving? If you know how do you convert data into visualization, then the next step would be to understand how do you build stories from this visualization. How do you build stories from this visualization? You have raw data, then you have structured data, then from this data you cover insights, then from these insights you cover a business story, bring out certain points and how you can use data to tell a story. So that is where you need to keep yourself improving and cater to the needs of the business, blend yourself into the needs of the business, and then help them understand what is important, give them information so that they can take informed decisions. Then comes leading. As you grow higher up the ladder, leading will get attached to you. You may have to start managing analysts under you, you may have to start managing an accounting team under you, right? So learning leadership skills at some point in time will be very, very important for you. Adapting. Technology will keep changing, industries will keep changing, business models will keep changing. 10-15 years ago, nobody had heard about Amazon, nobody had heard about LinkedIn or anything like that. Tech companies were not there. Nobody had heard about artificial intelligence. But today, all of these are surviving. All of these are operating on a certain business model, right? So you will need to adapt yourself to understand new age business models and then come up with certain solutions to that. Okay, so this is how you can build your FP&A career. Everything starts with foundational understanding, conceptual understanding, based on three pillars: soft skills, experience, and tools. And then you always keep improving, leading, and adapting yourself. Okay.
So in the last 45 minutes or 50 minutes, we tried to give you a good understanding of the overview of FP&A. but it is not possible for me and Dhaval to cover the entire curriculum that we have built in 60 minutes or 90 minutes. So how many of you think that there is a lot more to learn about FP&A? Can you put learn in the chat box? Okay, I see few people typing in. Seva is saying learn. I see few more people typing in learn. So there is a lot more to learn about FP&A. We have spent about 20 years together, me and Dhaval, in different FP&A and finance leadership roles. So it is not possible for us to cover that in 1 or 2 hours. And I have been active on LinkedIn since the last 1 year, or 1.5 year, and I've been getting, and I'm sure Dhaval is also getting a lot of requests in terms of asking us to teach FP&A. It is not possible for us to teach FP&A to everybody one-on-one or at different point of time. That's why we came up with this curriculum of FP&A masterclass. So how many of you feel that if you had to do FP&A alone, you would struggle? Type me in the chat box. Type me if you feel that if you had to learn everything that we had have to share in less time, you would struggle without somebody mentoring you or coaching you. Just type me in the comment box. Okay, I see few people typing me. Bipin is saying me. Seva is saying me. So that's why we've come up with the FP&A masterclass. So this is a 16-hour live coaching program. We have worked on this for the past 1 year. I think Dhawan and me started working on it last year, and it took us 3 months to design the curriculum, make sure everything is right, and then we did, I think, 2 batches. So we've just completed the second batch of the FP&A masterclass. So we also want to make sure that the people who enroll in this masterclass get value out of this. We wouldn't want you to enroll in this masterclass if this is not the right fit for you. So we'll just talk about some cases where we think this might be the right fit for you, just in case you're thinking about enrolling for the masterclass. So if you are new to FP&A and if you want to switch from, say, a different finance role, say accounting, audit, taxation, and you want to switch into FP&A, then this is a good fit for you. Or if you're confused that you know that you want to build your career in FP&A, but you're confused that I don't know where to start, then also this is a very good place for you to be in. There are few people who know a little bit about FP&A, but they are not confident of articulating it in terms of uh, s- making others feel okay. They know that role in if they have to go in interviews or something like that. So if you feel that you know little bit, but if you don't feel confident of talking about it in an interview, and if you are going to prepare for an interview in the near future, then this is the right course or the right masterclass for you. And there are many people who reach out to us on LinkedIn. They say that, okay, I know a lot of theoretical concepts about FP&A, looking at a lot of books, a lot of theory that has been shared on social media, LinkedIn. But we need to learn practical examples. We need to see how it actually works in practical life. We need to see examples of how a budget is created live. We need to see a example where how you do forecasting using Excel sheets or using a budgeting tool. So these are some of the areas. If you feel that you need to look at real examples, so in the masterclass we will be covering in every, so 16 hours is spread over 4 weekends, and there will be 8 classes, and in every class we will be covering 2 or 3 examples which will be very practical.
So what is covered in the masterclass? Primarily, there'll be 4 modules that will be covered in the masterclass. One is the budgeting and forecasting. That is a step-by-step understanding of how a budget is prepared, how a forecasting is prepared, and what does the management look into when you're preparing budgeting and forecasting. Then what is module 2? That is management reporting and analysis, where you need to present different kind of reports, commentaries, variance analysis, profitability analysis, recharges, allocations. There are a number of things that you are working on in management reporting as part of management reporting. That is what will be covered in module 2. Module 3 is a little bit advanced about storytelling and presentations. Now you have your data, now you have analyzed it, now you have come up with certain insights. Now, how do you actually tell a story out of it? How do you actually present it to the management? That is where storytelling and presentations come into play. And then module 4 is about finance business partnering. It is about adding value to the business. It's not just about generating some report and sending it to the business. It is always about influencing the business to take profitable decisions, to take prudent decisions, to take financially sound decisions. How do you get to that level is covered in finance business partnering, that is module 4. Now, when does the masterclass, FP&A masterclass batch 3 start? We've already completed batch 2. Now batch 3 starts on 25th of February. On 25th of February, usually the timings are Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. This time zone is designed very, very carefully, keeping in mind people from different geographies, different time zones. So don't ask me why this is 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., but this is what we'll be following. And it has worked fantastically in the previous batches as well. So you will be with us for 4 continuous weeks, Saturday and Sunday, where we will be covering all those 4 modules that we discussed step by step with 100% practical case studies that we have covered.
So one of the reason we have kept this timing is also because, especially people, most of us will be from India. I think 50-60% of the batch is from India. So they tell us, okay, we don't want to block our Saturday, Sunday. We want to complete the class by 11 a.m. Then we want to make sure that our weekend is free. This also works well because a lot of folks join in from other parts of the world. So we have people joining in from the Middle East. For them, it is about 7 a.m. So which is a good time which they can join in. It is about 3 p.m. in Australia. So we have few people joining in from Australia as well. It is about 9 p.m. in the US. So we also have folks joining in from the US. So this is the best time we've seen that could work for different time zones as well.
If you go out in the market to look for other FP&A courses, first of all, there are very few courses available on FP&A. Okay, and none of them are, I would say, region specific. Okay, and to some extent, they're all highly priced as well. You can roughly take an average between $500 to $1,000 is what you will see the range of courses that are available. Bulk of them may not be live coaching as well, unlike what we are providing here would be 100% live coaching. So what is covered, what comes as the package in the FP&A Masterclass is 16 hours of live classes on Saturdays, Sundays, like I mentioned, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST for 60,000. 15 practical case studies and discussions where we'll make you go through practical cases, role plays, discussions, FP&A interview prep secrets, a session where we'll help you specifically prepare for interviews, give you tips on your resume, all of that stuff. FP&A resume guide, how do you increase your chances by making your resume much stronger when you're applying for FP&A role. All of this easily worth more than 80,000 rupees. And so the FP&A masterclass is easily worth more than $1,000. And on top of this, if this is not enough, we're also giving you bonus number 1, that is the FP&A Foundations course, which is actually a self-paced online course which acts as a precursor to the FP&A masterclass. You will need to complete the foundations. If you can complete the foundations course before you enter the masterclass, then you will have a fair bit of knowledge to attempt many things that we are discussing in the masterclass.
Yes, and in fact, a lot of people we have seen a lot of people who attend the foundations course, they can come and focus more on the practical examples. So
Absolutely.
in the class, we will focus more on the practical examples and less on theory. So if you've covered the theory earlier, it will be easier for you to just focus on the live examples that we are sharing.
Bonus number 2 is all about FP&A book, the Kindle version of this book that Asif is kind enough to share with this package. Bonus number 3 is we'll all be connected through mastermind calls on a monthly basis. It's not that the moment you complete our masterclass, our relationship gets over. We will be there together every month to discuss multiple topics, multiple developments that are happening in the industry, any specific queries that you may have. We may also sometimes bring in experts from other industries to talk about how FP&A function is working in their industry. So we have a lot to achieve in this mastermind calls as well. And this will completely come to you. I mean, you'll have access to this mastermind calls as part of the FP&A masterclass as well. So
one thing I want to mention on the mastermind calls is a lot of people learn from each other as well. So we have done 2 batches and we have about 40 people in the alumni, 45 people in the alumni group from batch 1 and batch 2. So all of these people will also join those masterclass, and we will discuss our problems and issues. And it might be the case that somebody in the batch 1 or batch 2 or even in this batch might be facing a very similar problem, or they might have faced the similar problem in the past and they might have actually resolved it. So they can actually help you if you attend these mastermind sessions. So these are truly priceless, so we cannot actually put a price. That's why we cannot put a price on these calls.
Fantastic. So the Master FP&A Masterclass live coaching program, plus the foundations course, plus the book, and plus access to mastermind calls, all of this worth easily more than $1,000. Easily more than $1,000. So the investment in FP&A Masterclass comes at $297. That is roughly about Indian rupees 24,000. This is what we have been charging for FP&A Masterclass. But however, this price is not for today. Because you have been a sincere and a curious audience to understand more about FP&A, we have a special webinar price for you today. You will get $100 off, and you can get this particular masterclass and all the bonuses come with it at only $197. That's roughly about 16,000 INR. You will get this only at $197 only. So what we're now going to do is quickly put the enrollment link in the chat box. Asif, if you can just put it in the chat box, or I can put it as well.
I've just shared.
Okay, in the chat box, and you can use coupon code early100 to avail $197 off. And this coupon code will be valid for a limited time. And usually we try to keep the batch size small to make it very effective. So there'll be only a few seats that are that will be available for you. So if you need to decide, then please decide fast. I'm not using any marketing trick on you saying that you need to register in the next 15 minutes or anything like that. Okay, but we are being very transparent with you that it's a small batch that we would like to conduct always. And make sure that you reserve your seat as early as possible and avail this $100 discount today as part of the special webinar. And it's been great that you have put in so much of effort to stay put for 60 minutes and complete this webinar. So make sure that you complete this journey by enrolling into the FP&A Masterclass as soon as you can. Cool. Don't take our word for it. We have got dozens and dozens of testimonials. You can see those testimonials on the landing page as well. There are certain video testimonials also which you can go through. Okay, and lots and lots of people have come back with a different kind of feedback for us. And Asif can cover a little bit more on these.
Yeah, if you can go to the next slide, Dhaval. So we've had success stories. We've done 2 batches right now, and we've had few people joining from different parts of the world. So Kiran was somebody who joined us from Australia. It was, I think, 1 a.m. for him when he. So the first batch that we did was at 8 p.m. in the evening. So this 11 a.m. time, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. time is one of the reasons because people from Australia could not join. So the first batch we did was in the evening, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. and it was, I think, 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. for Kiran. So he attended few sessions live, but he could not attend most of them because it was too late. I think it was 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. something like that. So he attended a few sessions live and then watched the recordings of the remaining sessions. And just by watching the recordings, he could transition from a traditional accounting role into a FP&A or a commercial finance role. This is Subhashish from batch 2. So a lot of people are asking questions in terms of how. I see a question from uh, I think Baji Babu. So he's asking me, would like to know more about FP&A Masterclass going to be real-time exposure on annual operating plan and forecasting process. Actually, I was in analysis side, but I would like to know more about budgeting and forecasting with real-time manner. So Baji, this is a testimonial from Subhashish. He's saying that we do practical and real-world case studies. So what we'll typically do is we'll pick one industry. Say for example, for revenues, we will pick one industry and we will show you exactly how the budget is done. We will show you how the budget is done, and then we'll use the same example for the forecast. So this is where the budget ended, and now this is how the forecasting will be done. So we will use practical examples which we have seen in our real life actually experience. Now we will not use any tools. We will do it in Excel. There are some reasons why we are using Excel. First of all, tools, a lot of people may not be familiar with, and there are a lot of tools available. We cannot just pick any one tool. Maybe one tool might be familiar to few people. It might not be familiar to a lot of people. So the best way we have seen is it works is we do all of it in Excel, and whichever tool you use, you can easily understand these concepts and then apply these concepts whichever tool that you are using. Another testimonial is from Chandrakant. So he also found that uh, uh, case studies are a particular favorite aspect for him. So we do a lot of case studies, breakout room activities. We make sure that you are actively involved in the discussion. And what we try to do is we also want to make sure that whatever we do in the class, you can apply it in your job, in your real life. If you're working in FP&A, for people who are not working in FP&A, maybe they can use it at a later stage. But if you are working in an FP&A role, you will see that the examples and the templates that we share, maybe you cannot use those templates directly in your role, but you can get a fair sense of idea in terms of how you can create your own company templates or your own company uh, uh, examples based on the examples that we share. Yeah, I think they can look at the testimonials on the landing page. Another thing we wanted to cover is that uh, this is batch one, what people have paid. So people have paid $249 for batch one as well. And the other are people who had joined in the webinar. So we had given the similar discount for people who had joined in the webinar. So this is batch three. You can see there's one person who has just joined this morning, has paid $297. So just because you are here in the webinar, you're getting this $100 discount. If and we'll make sure that right now I think 18 people are there. I think 16 people are there. So we'll make sure that this discount is only available to people who had joined the webinar. So we'll not be giving this discount to anybody else also.
Cool. So I think that is what we had to share as part of this brief and quick training program. Like I said, that between Asif and I, we have over 2.5 decades of experience specifically in FP&A. And see, back when we started our careers, there was no LinkedIn, there was no courses available, there was nothing that was available, and we had to figure out everything on our own. And you see, not everybody is lucky enough to get a coach in their manager. Okay, you can get a manager who's nice, but is he a good coach? Is he really interested in your own development? Very rare. I have worked probably with 13, 14 different managers till now. How many of them were genuinely interested in my growth? At best, one, maybe one and a half. But I wouldn't. But it's very difficult to find, coaches in your managers. So that is where Asif and I thought about this and made sure that the struggles that we have gone through should not be present for all others, and we try to simplify their lives as much as possible. And through this FP&A masterclass, this is our way of giving back to the community, create next generation confident finance professionals out there who can do some wonders and help the businesses take prudent financial decisions. Okay, so if you want to know more about FP&A masterclass, then you can also DM us on LinkedIn. Okay, and we would be happy to answer any of your questions. But for now, if you have any questions related to today's session on Kickstarter or anything related to masterclass, please feel free to put it in the chat box, and we'll attend to that question and answer as much as we can. Asif, do you see any questions in the chat box?
Let me pick up questions. So Baji, did we answer your question? I think we covered your question while doing the testimonial. So let us know if you have any other questions.
Okay, I see a question here in the chat box. Is FP&A role, does FP&A role make becoming a CFO easier? You see, it's not, frankly, it's not that straightforward. Okay, FP&A role, I would like to put it this way: FP&A role is definitely one of the steps to becoming a CFO. Okay, because a CFO's role largely balances three different things. One is your compliance, the other one is your commercial aspects or FP&A, and the other one is leadership. You have to lead the team as well, right? So as long as you can work on all these three aspects, then there is a higher chance of you becoming a CFO at some point in time in your career. And FP&A is definitely one of those steps.
I see another question in the chat box. Maybe I lost it. Just give me 1 second. So Bipin is asking whether we will share the files of examples so that we can practice the case study. So let me just share my screen. Let me share my screen.
Yeah,
Uh, Let me know if you see my screen now. Do you see the Dhaval, do you see the
it's
batch
still loading.
to? Okay.
It is still loading actually.
Okay.
No, maybe you will have to probably stop and share again.
I think there's
Yeah,
some internet issue.
yeah, I can see now.
Just give me 1 second.
I can see now.
Can you hear me now? Can you know?
Yes.
So this is the entire access that you will get. You will get
Hello, Asif. I think we lost Asif.
to answer your question. You will have. Oh, I think there's an internet issue. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So to answer your question, you will have access to everything. You will have access to all your.
Maybe you can switch off your camera, Asif, to conserve bandwidth.
All the resources, all the examples that we are going to share in the class, which you can use for your benefit or whatever you want to use.
Yeah, the short answer is that you will get access to all the working files. Okay. In the meantime, if you have any more questions, I would request you guys to direct it to me here.
Sorry, I thought I lost access. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
joining
yeah.
again. Let me stop sharing. I
Yes.
think Dhaval, you can cover that question if I'm not if I'm breaking up or something.
Yeah. Are you stopping? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I did cover that answer. The
Okay.
short answer is that you will get access to
Yeah.
all the exercise files that we are sharing in the masterclass, so that you can practice on your own as well.
Yes.
Any other questions? Have a question on FP&A key skills. It does not include accounting skills on your side. You see, FP&A starts where accounting ends, So having accounting knowledge is important. Okay, that is the core thing of an FP&A role, because that is something we are assuming that you already have. Because if you are required to do some deeper analysis of certain accounts, you need to know what is captured in that accounts. You need to know how the flow of entry is, right? So accounting is a given when it comes to FP&A role. Okay. However, there could be multiple roles in FP&A where you may not require accounting knowledge, but definitely you will need understanding of what is accrued expense, accrued income. All of that is required. So I would say that accounting is a starting point, and FP&A starts where accounting ends. Do you see any other questions, Asif?
No, I have lost the history, so I don't see any new questions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think if we don't have any questions, and if people don't have any questions on the masterclass, then we can wrap up in the next few minutes.
Okay. Fantastic. So please feel free to put in the chat box if you have any questions. Asif and I are always available on LinkedIn, so you can DM us your questions as well if you have any questions regarding the masterclass or FP&A in general, and we'll be happy to answer that to you.
Yeah, but be a little bit patient because we get like 10 different messages, 10 messages, tens of messages every day. So usually I make sure I respond to all the messages on the weekend. So maybe if you reach out on the weekday, maybe I may
So
not be.
Hariom, I don't understand your question. We can attend multiple sessions, meaning there are 8 sessions that we are covering, and you will need to attend every session. Just in case of emergency, if you're not able to attend it live, then we will provide you the recording. Okay. And generally what we have set a rule is that you need to at least attend 6 sessions. Okay. Or give us a confirmation that you have completed all the sessions for getting the certificate. Okay. Just don't enroll and expect a certificate. Okay.
Yeah.
How to confirm if the payment is done? I can quickly check that for you.
You must have also received an email. So you must have
Yeah.
received a confirmation email that you registered for the FP&A masterclass.
Yeah, I don't see any email right now. So maybe your registration did not go through. Baji Baba, are you trying to pay and are you finding any difficulties? Please let us know. In the next batch, if you want to. Hariom, generally, what we have done is that if you miss out on a lot of lectures due to some unforeseen emergency, then we have allowed people to attend the subsequent batch. But we would prefer you to attend the batch that you have enrolled. Don't keep postponing just because you have this option. But if there is any emergency and if you are not able to attend a certain live session, we would be happy to host you in the next batch as well.
Yeah. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to keep an eye on the next batch timetable, and whenever you see that date, you just message us and we will add you to that particular session. So you'll not be a part of the entire next batch, but any specific sessions that you have missed, maybe one or two.
Okay, any more questions? Trust me, guys, dozens and dozens of people have benefited from this masterclass. Okay, and no, we don't have an EMI option at the moment. Hariom.
If they use the credit card, maybe they will be able to do it from the credit card side, but not from the Teachable side.
Bipin, unfortunately, we have thought a lot about and came up with this timing. I know some of our students who are working in the Middle East, there for them Sunday was also working. So unfortunately, we don't have any other time option at the moment. But if you can't attend on a certain Sunday, you can always watch the recording. Is a certificate recognized globally? No, not really, because at the moment we are not affiliated with any university or anything like that. This is more of a completion certificate that you will get SEWA. But hopefully, we are working towards getting some recognition for this. But I'm not sure if it will happen so early, probably by the end of this year.
Yeah. So Baji Babu, I see your registration. So I see that you paid and it is confirmed.
Yeah, it starts on 25th Feb, Hariom. That is a Saturday at 9 a.m. and it will run for 4 continuous weeks, which means that it will start on 25th Feb and it will end on 19th Sunday. Any more questions?
I have a question. When we will be able to use the discount code? So we have kept a limited number of seats for the discount. So whenever that ends, it might be tonight, it might be tomorrow, it might be day after tomorrow. So whenever those we've kept like 5 seats for this discount. Whenever those get filled, it will close.
Yeah.
After that, you might be able to enroll, but you might have to come back. So if after say next week, if you want to enroll and if there is a seat available, you will have to pay the full price.
Yeah, so the link will be open, try it as early as possible whenever you can. And if you face any issues, please feel free to reach out to me or Asif.
All right. So if no more questions,
Baji,
yeah.
Baji, you don't need to do anything from your end. We will notify you the start date, and before the start date, we will give you access to the FP&A Foundations course, okay, which will happen in the next week. And then then you can start going through the FP&A Foundations course, which is self-paced. And on 25th will be the live session. So you will be added to a WhatsApp group where all the communication will happen, and we'll all meet at the live session.
Yeah. And
Hariom, it is 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. Okay, only 2 hours.
and Baji Babu will also add you to the mastermind community. So we might have a session before the batch start as well, the mastermind session. So you can join that as well.
Fantastic. Baji says that he has already done the FP&A Foundations on Udemy. That's fantastic. So you already know the foundations. So then you're ready for the masterclass. Great. I think we can wind up if you don't have any questions. You guys can always reach out to us on LinkedIn if you have any questions on this. And yeah, have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.